Now you're all right, Mike. Now you're okay.
Good to go now?
Yep, we're good to go.
Great.
So you doing all right tonight?
Yes, sir.
Well, Mike, earthquakes, El Nino, heat waves. Mike, it's Planet X. I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, I know nobody wants to talk about Planet X, but look, the whole planet is either shaken from earthquakes, baking from UV rays or radiation off the sun. Solar flares are erupting. There's a huge sunspot right now, and the sun pointed right at us. If that thing goes, we're in trouble. El Nino has got to be part of this as well. Can you help me understand? Is Planet X or some binary system, is a gravitational pull, is any of that causing the effects on this planet?
Well, El Nino, right? That is a direct effect of the sun. And of course, with the melted ice over the years, it's a doozy. What's causing the sun to do what it does? We have a chemistry change on the sun. The sun is burning out certain chemicals, right? So any of the pressures or any of the influences that have been on the sun are going to be different now. Can you imagine that? The chemistry of the sun is changing, right? Something so simple, but it offsets everything. Everything.
So the chemistry of the sun, and help me understand that. Why would the chemistry be different?
With our sun, right? It's not going to burn a consistent rate forever. It's always changing. We just so happen to live in a time when the sun is doing a major change. Of course, everybody remembers when they could look at the sun, right?
Right, I remember.
They used to say, don't look at the sun, but you could actually look at the sun. You cannot do that now.
No.
There's no way you can do that now. So the sun is about 4 times brighter than what it used to be. And the radiation is just as intense, right? So we have a penetration of our atmosphere, of course, with the chemistry changes on the sun, with the brightness, with more heat. We're going to have a heated atmosphere. And the big driver, Pastor Paul, is that this entire time we have been gaining dirt. Let's call it dirt. Galactic cosmic rays. Let's call those dirt.
Okay.
They come in from outside the heliosphere. They penetrate the heliosphere. They come in directly to our sun, right? And to the inner planets, causing radiation buildup, right? Causing atmospheres to become more and more dense. So we're always changing. And it's something that we're able to monitor and see that change. And that's what we are experiencing. Now, what are the external drivers to this? I firmly believe that we are in a binary system. And with a binary system, the influences of the other star, they become very apparent at intervals. I believe we're getting close to one of those intervals. Right? It's as simple as that.
Okay.
And so we're just beginning. They've observed this behavior of stars like ours with other binary and systems with more than one sun. We're just beginning in the phase where the sun goes to this brilliant, bright white color to a hazy. It'll start causing our atmosphere to become hazy, right? Moisture conditions change. For example, in July, people should expect temperatures to be, on average, 113, right?
What?
Yeah, and the oceans, listen, they're going to put out cautions to stay out of the ocean. What have you heard that before?
Wait, no. Okay, so because of what? Because of heat?
Heat, yes. Yep.
Oh, my Lord, have mercy.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
France had, it was 109 yesterday in France. It was, I think 2 days ago, was the hottest day ever in France. Not just on that day or not just the month of June, but ever in history, ever. So, and Europe has been baking all week. They don't have air conditioning, Mike. People are dying. People are drowning trying to cool off.
Normally, you don't need it in Europe.
No.
All year round,
No,
Europe is tolerable, but not anymore. Not anymore.
So you
Wait till July comes. Wait till mid-July comes, and the people in the USA are. This is gonna. We have a major problem. I don't hear anybody talking about it. We have a major problem, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
We know that heat is not good for the power grid.
No.
Right, we know that. It's not good for the power grid. We have data centers that are being linked to the power grid. Many data centers right now are linked to the power grid, right? There's no way they can retrofit all the transformers with some of the liquid cooling ceramic deals they have going on. There's no way. So look for a breakdown in power grids because of the draw and the heat. Now, here's something everybody should know. The hotter it gets, right, the more amperage it's going to take to run your equipment. Now, let me give you an example of this. If it's cool outside, normal temperatures, and say you have your refrigerator that takes, it's taking 20 to 35 amps to operate, right, 120. If the wires heat up, if the wires begin to heat up, you lose your conductive power, right? You lose that conductivity of electrons. So it takes a lot more electrons to get the same amount of amperage and voltage to the refrigerator, which means it's going to strain the transformer. So on average, it'll take about 20 to 40% more power to run that refrigerator when it's extremely hot.
Okay.
Rather than when it's not, right? Because the materials, the metals, and the wires, right? All that they have the what's called a thin property, which means not many electrons can flow through at the same rate that they do when they're cooled down. You can also call that a thermal defect. It used to happen in old TVs. They used tubes, right? If they got too hot, your television would stop working. And you would actually have to cool the television down to get the electrons flow again. Well, think of the USA. Very hot. Electricity is going. The sun rises. And in the middle of the day, without them turning off the network switches, all of a sudden, it takes double the power to run your home. Double the power to run your home.
And is it because of two reasons? The heat, but the pulling on our power grid. I mean, you're saying that these data centers, they got to be cooled. They got to stay cold. Is there going to be enough electricity for all of the populace to stay cool and the data centers right now?
Let me explain this.
Okay.
Say we didn't have the data centers. At all, right?
Yep.
And this summer, mid-July hits. Yeah. We're going to be in trouble. It's still going to take double the power to run your home. In other words, double the populace. We have 300 and some million people in the USA.
Right.
So, when you're dealing with numbers, Ohm's law, some people out there know that, and you're dealing with thermodynamics and heat and properties in physics, then that number goes up to 600 million households. Not just 300 million, but 600 million households. So you're going to have the capacity to run what normally runs in normal conditions, right? It's going to take twice the power to do that. The transformers cannot take that.
No.
On average, the power grid delivers normal power to homes only about 230 million homes every single day, right? Because people are flipping things off and flipping them on and going to work, coming back, and this, that, and the other. So, but if you double that number in the middle of summer, right, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And we know the summertime you run the AC, so homes are running at maximum.
Yeah.
It's just not going to make it. So this is a big problem because we're going to have power grid failures. This is without any data centers. But we know that most cities have data centers hooked into them, right? So they would account for even more power usage and strain on the grid. So they're going to be forced to do, right?
Brownouts.
Critical management of power, which means it's just not going to be good. If they don't shut people's power off, if they don't meter what people can utilize, right? For example, if they cut the power off in the daytime, at the hottest parts of the day, which is the only way you can do that. And then turn it back on. If you don't do that, you blow the transformers. If transformers blow all over the place, it could take years to get them all back in again.
So so rolling blackouts. Do you think we're going to have rolling blackouts across the?
Oh, I know we will. I know we will. I know we will.
This is
they cannot manage the power grid, right? The entire power grid has been upgraded over the last 3 years. The power grid right now is on a network. Those networks have tons of switches on them, remote switches, right? So you have a computer system that's managing the connections, current flow, voltage, control voltage, so on and so forth. A computer, that's why a long time ago, when you had your power turned on to a new structure, you had to call somebody to come out and do that, right?
Yeah.
Or if you moved into an apartment, same thing. Not now, because all of it's linked up by way of systems right now, computer systems. Nobody has come out to read your bill. Nobody has come out to turn your power on or off, right? They can do that. The computer can do that based on the program.
Yeah.
And so they're going to utilize that. They're going to have to utilize that, or we face critical damage on infrastructure with our power grid.
Do you?
Right?
But here's a question. You know they're not going to do rolling blackouts for the data centers. Those things are never going to get shut off. Am I correct?
No. Once they start up, they can't shut down. So they do have they have another line. Another power grid within a power grid right now running, right? That's why they're getting all those nuclear pods out to everywhere. This is going to turn into a disaster eventually. But every data center is going to have a nuclear power pod type of facility to run it, or a coal facility to run it. So they did perfect the nuclear pods. Right? They did perfect that, which means a data center could run off one of these pods that's you have to put down into the earth. The only issue with that is we have problems underneath the earth, right? We have massive instabilities underneath the earth.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see what we can and cannot take, at least by the 12th of July.
So, Mike, okay, now remember when they wanted to shut down all the nuclear power plants, and the green people were running around hugging trees and wanting to shut things off? Now, what are they going to do? Nobody's talking about that now. The EPA, I mean, so it's okay now. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they kind of shut them up for a while, right? They're not even involved at this point, right? But I tell you, either way, I hate to say this because it's so new. And the demand is so high, it's going to be unsustainable. The temperatures are going to be far too high. And the only way to do that is to inflict a little suffering on the populace.
That's what they're going to do. So right? I know right now that none of these data centers are ever going to have a brownout or a shutdown unless they have a major malfunction. We are the ones that's going to pay the price, the populace.
That's right. That's right. So that means a whole city would go down, right? And the data center would still be operational.
Also, won't we be paying double for our electricity than what we normally pay?
They're going to subsidize that. And AP, all these different power companies have been proposed something, right? But the people don't know that yet, so nobody's going to really talk about that.
No, not
yeah.
They get
so something else is going to happen with that. But they will eventually. Here's the plan. Once data centers, once they put the power pods in the centers, those power pods, believe it or not, can also power the cities they're in. Not only the data center, but they can also power the cities. That's one of the positive aspects to these data centers. I'll say that one more time. Once they get the power pods into place, which they could do that in 2 months, right? If they had the data centers ready, those same power pods will have enough power to also run the cities they're in. So instead of feeding off the grid, they would feed power to the grid.
Now that would be good. They're
going to have a lot of excess power.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of excess power, Pascal.
That would be a good thing if that could happen. Yep. And so that does give me hope because I realize. Now, let me ask you a question, Mike. We're getting all these data centers all across America, and they're building them as fast as they can. I mean, it's unbelievable. Are they building them in other countries, though, like in Europe?
Yep.
Or are they building them in like
Saudi
India?
Arabia?
Really?
Turkey? Okay. Egypt? Yep. In the deep desert. They're going to build them there because they have brand new water sources in the deep desert. Africa, where the new ocean, the new continents are forming, of course, because Africa is being split in half. And they're tapping water sources all over the world. That's bad news, actually.
Yeah,
to cool off these power centers is going to take a lot of water, right? We're going to have a water problem. There are going to be some things to sort out. There are going to be some scares that we're going to have.
So we're going to deal. We got to deal with the shortages of power right now, but then later we're going to have to deal with the water shortages that certainly. And then what if the weather? What if the things that you and I have talked about in the past, where all of a sudden we're having straight line winds, we're having.
Oh, it's going to happen.
How is this all going to?
It'll most certainly happen. Well, with the data centers, they're going to be buried, right? Buried, so they're underneath the earth. No problem with that. All they have to worry about is magma and oil and coal burning, like in Pennsylvania and Ohio, things like that. Earthquakes, right? That's all. And then if they do have an earthquake where a data center is and it's running off one of those nuclear power plants, they have a nuclear meltdown, right? That's all they have to worry about. Right?
Is that just
nuclear meltdown wherever there's a power plant? That's all. No big deal.
Mike, so that's just a ticking time bomb. We're one earthquake away from a meltdown, aren't we? Even right here in America.
Well, earthquakes have caused some major damage. They're not going to publish that type damage, right? Like backup generators to nuclear facilities. If those backup generators shut down, then pumps stop working, right? So if that were to, they're not going to publish anything like that. That would scare people to pieces. Except for California, they have no choice because theirs is out in the open. But there have been other facilities that have faced some few crises, but they're careful in locking down that news. You never hear about anything happening with a nuclear power plant, do you?
No more.
Because they're not going to report it. Right? They're not going to report those things. But you can talk to folks who are, they're educated in what's happening at these nuclear facilities. And if they could, they would tell you that, these things are old.
Yeah.
And they're, held together by duct tape.
Yeah. Now, Mike, let me ask you,
danger.
Let's say we have a meltdown. Let's say we do. California has an earthquake. We have a meltdown. They're not going to tell the public? I mean, radiation levels are going to go high. Are they just going to let that go?
They tell the public about that. They'd have no choice. Too many people have, electronics like Geiger counters and this and the other. But they will not tell anybody about the problems they have prior to the meltdown.
Okay.
Right? Like right now, if something were happening right now, they're not going to tell the world anything. They're not going to tell them. They're going to attempt to handle it without any incident. Right? See, that's already happened. All you have to do is look back 4 years in California and see it for yourself. People tried to report on it. It never gained ground. And then, something happened in the world that took momentum away from those stories. But that's just the way that is. This is what we face. So it's a dangerous world going forward with innovations, yes. Safety is always something that is questionable at first. Right?
Yeah, it's part of it's part of the price for innovation.
There's some risks. There's some risks.
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that's happening also. We got an article just came out this morning that Vladimir Putin is ready to take war into space. I would think probably he already has. Can you give us an idea of what that means? Okay.
This guy, I tell you, they're messing with him. Well, everybody should know that he is determined, right? But they had to be careful not to make him desperate.
Okay.
And there is that component of Islamic individuals in the Russian army. That's a big problem. That's a big problem. My firm belief is we're going to have a breakout of that. I honestly, I give it months. We're going to have I don't see that being contained. There's too many conversations and loss of control in certain brigades in Russia already that indicate that the Islamic individuals, all right, in Russia are planning something. Nobody knows what, but they're planning something.
Are you talking that they're planning not a coup against Putin, are you? I mean,
No, it won't be against Putin. They're going to absolutely
it's
utilize
against NATO, right? I mean,
those
it's
forces against NATO and against us. They really want us. All the language that's out there is against the USA. All the language.
so. What kind of potential? I mean, is it a terrorist move, or is it some type of
Think
warfare?
of a breakaway. Think of a breakaway battalion that, or some air defense artillery battalion or something like that, that gets hold of the launch capabilities of some of his hypersonic, those multiple launch warheads, right?
Yeah.
They would not hesitate to launch them at the USA. And if they did that, interception, it would be almost impossible. You have to intercept something like that on the ground. You can't do it in the air, right? There's a fail-safe with these new missiles they have, and they can react within about, I believe it's 20 milliseconds. So just imagine a warhead detonating upon knowing that something is going to attempt to intercept it. Plus, they can launch one missile, essentially. It'll go up into space and come down at hypersonic speeds, launching about 20 nuclear warheads in different directions or chemical warheads in different directions. So if they get a hold of that, based on what we did to Iran, based on what the USA has subdued the Middle East, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks good on paper. It looks good, for in politics, but it does not look good to the Islamic world. They're not going to forget. They will not forgive. Never. They will never forgive. And I wouldn't trust anything they ever attempted to do. And I think that everybody should always remember something. The Islamic world is an enemy of our Father, of Christianity, of Christ.
Right.
Because they believe in Allah. And in their own faith, it is permissible to lie, to cheat, to steal, manipulate, to do anything to take us down, to take the infidel down, right? That is permissible and encouraged. That's in the Quran.
Yeah, that's that. I mean,
So-
we're the infidel, and we certainly, Jews and Christians together. I mean, we're all considered infidels, right? I mean, it's in their text.
It's in their faith.
Their scripture. Yeah.
And you cannot fight faith just as firmly as we believe that Jesus is Lord. No one's going to make us denounce Christ. No one, right?
No.
Even the weakest Christian would not denounce Christ, but would in fact defend him. These guys, nothing is going to ever make them not take the infidel out. Think about that.
No.
So it's going to boil down to faith, right? After all of what's been done, politics and world building and world killing, is going to come down to faith. And it's coming. And they're going to utilize every asset they have to do it. And right now they have a pretty big one, the Russian army.
Yeah, you're saying, I mean, this is a game changer. With Russia becoming more and more Islamic in their army, it's changed the game, that it's no longer radical Islam of the Middle East, but aren't we talking radical Islam of Russia and the increasing numbers of Islamic believers in Europe and even here in America, but certainly in Europe. These are big, huge numbers. This is a game changer on the whole world, isn't it?
It is. Europe is invaded, right? The UK is invaded.
Yep.
And that's why they can't do too much. They have to be very careful in their messaging because they know that violence would fill their streets overnight. France is invaded. You can't go see the Eiffel Tower without being bombarded by, individuals like that. And if they see you with a cross around your neck, you're subject to get killed, literally killed.
Yeah.
And so this is how it is, over there. This has spread throughout the world. Those people, the folks, our populace, we don't see those things. We're oblivious to those things. We're oblivious to the true state of affairs of the rest of the world.
Right.
But these tensions of faith are building. Even within this country, watch what happens near, I'd say, from this day forward, going into July. It'll reach its height in September, watch what happens with the socialist movement that's happening in America. And before anybody says, well, that's just going to come and go, no, it isn't. It's already starting to topple what people took a long time to build up, because the people, the populace, likes it. The populace likes the messaging.
But isn't
They
that
could care less what people think about socialism. They don't know the end result of socialism.
No.
Right? So, but they're selecting people who are socialists.
So, Mike, with Mondami and all of his new left-wing liberal, very far left-wing, they're beyond liberal, socialist, as you said, and isn't there some kind of a marriage here between the socialist and the radical Islamist or the Islamist? It seems to be this. How does that marriage work, and will it work?
You know. And I firmly believe that since the beginning, things have been spiritually planned by forces of good and evil on this earth, right? Our Father is doing it, or the Satan is orchestrating his minions to do things through mankind on this earth to resist the Father. In this case, Mondami may not know exactly why he does what he does, right? But I'll tell you something. If a person is not covered by the blood of the Lamb, they're being utilized by Satan. There's no in between. And Mondami is not covered by the blood of the Lamb.
No.
He's being utilized by Satan, point blank.
Yeah.
And so he goes and he does what he does, and he takes New York, right? Now he's speaking to everybody else, and they're starting to trickle out in other states. This is coordinated by Satan himself. This is coordinated. You can see it happen. It's predictable. You know, with Mondami, people said it. You remember you asked me, you said, is this guy going to win? I said, yep.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I said, yeah, he's going to win. And this is before anybody, they were like, nah, this guy couldn't possibly win. You know, yeah, he will. I'm sure he will. This plan that Satan has put in place. Remember, everything is lining up to bring because somebody is coming forward very soon.
Yeah.
That the world's going to be introduced to. Right?
So
and everything is being set up so this person can walk forward to his new kingdom on the earth, right? His kingdom on the earth.
So you see the Mondami effect spreading beyond New York, as you said, other states like Minnesota, Michigan, California, wherever else it may spread, especially among the urban population, Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna name a place that's gonna mess everything up. You ready?
Texas, don't tell me.
Arkansas.
No, Mike, that's the Ozarks.
I'm gonna mess you up again. You ready? Dallas.
Now I can see Dallas because I can see it happening in Texas. It really is.
Dallas. When that starts to happen, but I'm gonna mess you up one more time.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I have to. It's gonna be right down there in Florida.
No, you didn't have to do that to me right now.
Right down there in Florida. And people are going to be, you know what, folks who believe in Christ, folks who understand the nature of the progression of politics and how we had to learn some hard lessons in this nation, they're going to say, how is this happening? They're going to be at a loss of words as to how this is happening. But we are dominated by a bunch of people in the USA. You know, everybody has been fighting, Pastor Paul. If you think about it, the church has had a major fight on their hands, and it really started there when they began to take down the Ten Commandments. They began to fight against Christ. This started making people who really believed upset. You know, how could we do this to the Lord? And so we were engaged in a type of battle against these political foes who were trying to, upend Christianity. But while that was happening, the children, the rest of the populace, they were being raised by the corporate world. I say that because most children spend time on the computer.
Yeah.
Well, the computer is the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
They're not spending enough time with family. That didn't count for all, but for the majority of these kids out there, they spend most of their time on YouTube, most of their time on TikTok with video games, and that's raising them. They're taught by TikTok. So in other words, they're taught by peers, right? They're taught by people who do the same thing they do. They just do it more than, the younger kids. And so it's almost like an entire set of folks are out there who have been raised by the corporate world, not by their dads and moms, but by the corporate world. They don't really have a footing in the faith like we do. They don't know the story or the struggles that took place in the USA. And if you don't know the struggles that took place, you're not going to fear any repeat of those same struggles. In other words, if nobody in the USA knew about communism, we would likely adopt communists, not knowing the outcome or not knowing the history and the bloodshed involved with communism. Right?
You're right.
And then, of course, it would happen again. So that's what's happening right now. So right now it's more of an education issue that we face with these young kids.
So we really have, when you start talking about this, Mike, you're saying Satan is orchestrating this, as you said, and I agree with you 1,000%. And is orchestrating it because of the Antichrist, certainly, that's going to rise. Do you see this beast? Do you think the Antichrist is alive right now, in your opinion, Mike?
Well, it's aware, that's for sure. Do I think the vessel is alive? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I most certainly do. So, actually, I'm quite confident.
So we're going to be going up against a beast. And really, we're not wrestling with flesh and blood, but these principalities, these powers. We're fighting a beast and a beast system that we're not even aware of. And like you said, our young people have not been taught in Sunday school. They do not know what the Bible says. They don't even know what the history of America is. And so we're really setting ourselves up to be overrun because we're not training the children. They're being trained corporately or by the internet, by TikTok. We're in trouble.
Zuckerberg and these guys are out there training our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, we were tied up in combat. Real spiritual combat. Yeah. We're out there praying for folks, and we see one side of America falling, but we didn't see the children enough growing without supervision. I know a young man, Pastor, it normally happens this way, and it shouldn't, but it does sometimes. His parents are one's a pastor and a first lady, right? But he resents them. I got to talk to this young man this weekend, and he resents them. And I asked him, why do you resent them so much? He said, because when I was small, they were never around.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the parents, they didn't know this. They didn't know this. They didn't know how to quite balance that. And working with a lot of, this is not just that young kids, quite a few. Working with these young kids, you have to really repaint some pictures in their head so they can see the struggle of their parents on a day and night. Once they find out their parents are engaged in something 24 hours a day and it never stops, and that, what they were really dealing with, then the kids, they look differently, but they still resent the fact that they were left alone so much, that they did not, because they're comparing them. When the internet came out and video came out, Pastor Paul, there was an instant breakdown in borders. Children no longer, that were in the USA, they were no longer bound to the USA, and they really changed because they would see somebody in the Middle East and they would say, well, I want what this kid has. And those in the Middle East would look at the USA and say, well, I want what that kid has. When that happened, these kids began to rebel against their parents. That's why we saw what happened in Egypt that one summer when the guy set himself on fire.
I remember that. Yep.
And then we had a total breakdown in the Middle East. That happened through a comparison. He compared his life to those in other parts of the world through the internet.
Yeah. That's
how it happened. He adopted witchcraft practices through the internet, right? He became envious by what he saw. That's right out of the Bible.
Yeah, it really is.
That's right out of the Bible. That's a tactic of Lucifer that is used too much. When a person, it'd be like if I compared myself to somebody else, and I said, well, I want to be, like that guy is, I start to reject who I am.
Oh, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. You're right.
That's a mistake. Don't you? I hear it all the time. You hear people say, well, I'm just, I'm not this. Well, who told you you're not this?
Right.
And then they'll say, well, look at that person. You know what I tell people all the time? Stop comparing yourself to somebody else. You're one of a kind. There's nobody on earth like you. And the world does not need another Mike. It doesn't need another person. It needs you. It needs you. That's why you're here. You're the only one like you. But people do it all the time. But while they do this, they learn to reject what God made them to be. And that's the tragedy of the whole thing. And then they begin to adopt who they never were. They become who they never were. You see it all the time in Hollywood, right? People have used so much Botox, they look like bass.
They look bad.
Fish, don't they?
They look bad. I mean, some of
they
this,
look like bass fish.
Yeah, like some of this cosmetic surgery stuff, it's making people look weird. They don't even.
But they can't tell.
Well, they look alien. They're almost like an alien. They look. Yeah, you're like a fish.
And
you're right.
They can't even. They do look like fish. They can't even tell that they look like that because they're wrapped up in a culture where they look at somebody else and they can no longer see themselves. So they've lost their identity in doing that. And for anybody who believes in Christ, don't compare yourself to somebody else. Yeah, I tell everybody all the time, God made you who you are. Just look in the mirror and say, thank you, Lord. This is who I am, how I am. Now show me what you put me here for.
You are wonderfully and beautifully made.
That's right.
And the Lord. And when you talked about the guy burning himself, I remember that happening in Tunisia, and it spread across Egypt, and it went right across the entire Middle. We call it the Arab Spring. Yeah. Obama and Hillary were very instrumental in pushing that. They were calling for these dictators or leaders to fall one after another, and it created an instability not only for the Middle East, Mike, but it created instability for Europe,
all over the world.
From Europe because and all over the world because of the migration. And then when the Muslim population moved into Europe, they refused to assimilate, as you know. And this has completely turned this planet upside down in 15 years.
It has.
All right, Mike, let me ask you. Ebola.
Oh, Pastor, one more thing, too, Pastor. Guess what?
Go ahead.
It's a part of a ritual when a person sets themselves on fire. Now, they may not know it, right? And we war against principalities and powers.
Yeah.
When a person sets themselves on fire, that's part of a ritual to release a legion of demons. Oh. And every time somebody does this, the evidence travels around this globe every single time.
No.
Yeah.
So this is a ritual. I know this is a demonic ritual for sure. And
a high-level demonic ritual.
It has to be, because it's one thing to sacrifice an innocent child in these sacrificial procedures and rituals, but when you are willing to sacrifice yourself, this is the most powerful portion of the occultic practices. Would you agree?
It's specifically designed to release demons. I mean, a multitude of demons.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Now, Ebola continues in the Congo, but do you feel like maybe we can keep this one contained, or do you think we still got a whole lot more to go here?
In the Congo, I think, Pastor, we're going to face too many contagions.
Too many
contagions. I'll explain that.
Okay.
We know that the temperature is changing. We know that life in the ocean is mutating.
Yeah.
We know we have a lot of melted ice, right? We know we have a lot of released pathogens from the ice. We're going to deal with a whole lot. We also have too many mutations in common things like mold, like black mold. How many more mutations are there going to be with black mold?
Oh.
Things like that are killing people. There's a variant of mold that's causing massive bone degeneration in people, right? There's a reason in the last, I believe it's the last 13 years, that people, all their teeth have fallen out. It's not their fault. It's bone degeneration, something from the environment that is not being talked about right now, but it will come to the surface. And we have some major issues. There's some things happening, right? We have the migration of insects and of animals who will carry yet more diseases
Well,
to places they never were before.
What about this Lyme disease from the ticks? I mean, Mike.
That they're dumping out all over the place?
Yeah, this is true, isn't it?
The little black ones with the little spindly legs, the engineered ticks that they're dumping everywhere.
Why are they doing this? Why are they dipping?
Well, because there's another problem. They're not going to discuss that problem. It's just like the mosquitoes. They dumped mosquitoes all over the place to stop the spread of a very dangerous mosquito. You guys remember the mosquitoes that were carrying the Zika virus?
Yeah, the Zika.
Well, not only that, but there was oh, my brain is getting old. The other virus from the Middle East.
SARS? SARS?
No, not that. Not that. It had an old name to it. Anyway, they dump these mosquitoes out, right, to cause the other mosquitoes to become inert somewhat. They wouldn't produce right. And it worked, but it also caused
West Nile virus?
West Nile. And a lot of people may not know, but West Nile was out of control. And the death toll was higher. We weren't supposed to have a death toll from West Nile, right?
Okay.
So they had some emergencies. And geneticists did something to mosquito populations and then put them all out in the, dumped them wherever they had those mosquito problems to kind of tamper down the spread of that. Zika, something similar happened. But they do this. The ticks are doing the same thing. Nobody's going to talk about what the ticks are actually spreading. It's not Lyme disease. That's normal. We've been dealing with Lyme disease, Pascal, for a long time, right? We have. A lot of people have Lyme disease. They don't even know it. If that were the issue, they would spend more money in getting stuff to people so they wouldn't get that. That's not the issue. There's another issue with ticks.
Okay.
And they're just not going to talk about that issue yet. So we have some pretty dangerous things.
So is it another disease that's going to spread with the okay?
It's already been it's been spreading. It's just that nobody has gotten a hold of that. They haven't been looking in that direction yet.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye on I'll keep my ear close to the ground. Is it being manufactured? Is it being purposely spread, or is it something that...
The disease?
Yeah.
No, this disease is...
I mean, are we talking AIDS?
There are diseases, Pascal, that have been... Well, for example, the guy that went up in the Arctic.
Yeah.
And his legs were ate off. And this was
a flesh-eating disease. Some kind of flesh-eating disease. Some kind of...
Yeah, 2 days he lost his legs. That was 3 years after another person went up there, and they had to be rushed to the hospital from some flesh-eating bacteria. But the other guy that went up there lost his legs. He lost his legs that quick, right?
That's crazy.
There are tons of things out there because there are too many species of viruses and things like that have been unleashed. They've just been unleashed.
Right.
The chemistry in the ocean continues to change. Sea life is coming up from the deep. And fish are eating something. And then when they eat it, they it becomes part of them. And then we eat the fish that ate something else down in the ocean that hasn't been exposed to any of us for a long time. And before you know it, then something new pops out of the ocean. So we're going to have new contagions, and we're going to have new diseases and problems and plagues. That's for sure.
Mike, let's also talk a little bit about the Middle East, okay? This Iranian situation. The ceasefire is working a little bit right now, although I know the Iranians hit a Singapore ship this afternoon or yesterday, whenever it was. So the president, of course, is hopeful. Everybody's hopeful. But what's the reality here with Iran, the IAEA? Well, I mean, what is the reality? I mean, as long as we keep them down, I guess, beat down, they can't do anything.
Yeah, that's not going to work, though.
That's not a good strategy.
What they're doing, here's my analysis of what's happening. Right now, they're going to play nice so they can redistribute some of their heads of power to other places.
Okay.
and then they'll begin to grow from those places. So I can tell you this, Iran will become the worst thing we've ever dealt with, because now they're going to spread, right? And the heads that have been chopped off are going to produce more heads.
Yeah.
For example, you have a person who is a tactician. He goes to Turkey. All of a sudden, Turkey and the USA have this beautiful relationship. A week after, Turkey was speaking, some not so good things about the USA, and they're going to get propped up with military equipment by the USA. So Turkey is going to be empowered even more than what they are. The problem with that is Turkey is too close to Syria.
Yes,
Turkey wants power. Turkey wants position. Turkey wants to be the head of the caliphate. Some more things, right? So they're not going to give up that dream. And then you have these Iranian influences that are over there that have a heavy influence on Turkey. Turkey was, too many times, Pastor Paul, Turkey has been ready to backstab the USA because of Iran.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now we're in a position now where Iran, those tacticians, those smart people in Iran, evil but smart, have been distributed to other nations. They're going to double up their efforts and start to rebuild forces everywhere they are. So instead of one nation, Iran is going to be in 12 nations, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to build up from there. They will recruit. They will build up. They're going to work directly with all the individuals that they have, hired to go out and do battle in the first. It's going to be a nasty situation. And it right now, it seems like there's nothing anybody can do about that. Nobody's going to change their optics of how they look in front of the American people or the world. So this is something that is absolutely going to happen.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that's going to be a time we're not going to be able to deal with that. We just won't.
Now, let's talk about Putin for a minute. Now, you did talk about the portion about the Muslims that are really being strengthened and in number with Putin and his. But what about Russia, Ukraine? Where's this going to end? I mean, where's this going? We've been sitting here talking about this since 2014. And it's like a meat grinder right now. Matter of fact, Ukraine even looks like there might be even taking a little bit of advantage of Russia with the Crimea, cutting off Crimea. I think seems like Ukraine has got some new drone technology that seems to be working pretty well. Where's this thing going?
It's a back and forth, and the world is feeding that slaughter. So long as Putin is in power, we already know what he wants. He's not going to back down from that.
Is there anybody in Russia that can? Is there any a faction internally trying to figure out a way to take this guy out of power by assassination or something?
There are too many loyal to Putin. So in other words, say Putin was taken out, right? That would create 50 Putins within Russia. That's what would happen. And we're talking about people who were in strategic places that if Putin were taken out, they would carry out the time bomb order as he has put into place, right? He still has a few weapons over there nobody wants to play with. Zelensky may be looking at a very short-lived endeavor. Truth be told.
Yeah.
Because if Putin gets enough of that, he can wipe that whole place off the map without a nuclear weapon. Think about that. Without a nuclear weapon, he can wipe Zelensky and that population off the map.
But he wants, right? He does, but he really wants to have control of that land, and it's the breadbasket.
He can get it. He can get it. He just doesn't want to look like a monster to his own people, nor to the international community completely. Say if he launched one of his more tactical heavy munitions guided weapons, right? That means he could hit 50 targets with a couple missiles. I mean, exactly. So he wouldn't damage the infrastructure like people think. He already demonstrated that twice. He launched a missile and hit everything he pre-named and did not miss anything. He didn't miss anything. It hit every single target he pre-named. So he demonstrated twice that if he wanted to, he could take that whole place out and save the buildings. Right? So this is what he demonstrated.
Yeah.
But he's using restraint. because the world is involved and the world is looking, and ultimately, for him to go back, for him to get Russia back to the way it was, has to have some type of respect, international respect. So he can't. He already knows he can't be a monster.
No.
He was. I think he's holding out for the USA to totally turn away from that situation.
He's waiting.
The
He's
USA
trying.
is going to be so close to turning away from this situation, right?
But do you think,
they're
let's
going to
say-
face that soon.
Let's say after the Trump administration's over, let's say a Democrat wins the presidency. I hope not, but let's just say it happens. Biden was all in as it related to supporting Zelensky and the war. I think his motivations were different because they were making a lot of money off the war. Do you see a new presidential administration coming in saying, we don't want no more, we're done with it. We don't want anything more else to do with it. Can they do that? Does NATO fear?
Well, I mean, they could, right? But I'm thinking more of the lines of this. The whole story of the Ukraine is not known by the world. And I think when they know the full story and the goals that are in mind and what people have done to achieve those goals, right, is almost like, imagine a person who's willing to kill everybody in the grocery store to get a gallon of milk.
That's crazy.
Okay, that's not a good person, right?
No,
that's a foolish person.
That's right.
And so when you're facing these maniacs like that, right, and the world finds out who that maniac is, they're just not going to support things like they did. They just won't, right? I think that will happen. I think it'll happen.
So you see Zelensky going down. Do you see Zelensky ended up being removed, taken out somehow another soon? Would you say in 2 to 3 years?
Well, I think that he might want to watch himself.
Yeah.
Right, from his own people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't care how many people die.
No.
He's going to stand against Putin no matter what. No matter if he loses, everybody's going to stand against him. And pretty soon they're going to catch on to this. They're saying, wait a minute, this guy is willing for all of us to die just to prove his point.
That's not a good enough reason.
That's
not a good enough reason. I mean,
that war could have been over already, right? And the people could have gotten what they desired. But Zelensky would not have gotten what he desired. Now think about that. The people would have been okay. But Zelensky would not have been okay.
So do you think that so could this war be over if Zelensky was willing to compromise with Putin and
Sure. It sure
Wow. Okay, that's important to know.
And the people would be okay. The people would be okay, but Zelensky wouldn't be okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want. No, there's a lot of pride there. And a lot of blood is being spilt because of this
Which
pride.
is so foolish.
I know.
So in a heartbeat for the people, I would eat every word I put out there and say, well, I'm eating every word for your sakes, whether they knew it or not. But he's not going to do that. He's just not going to do that.
And that brings up another question: is it part of it? Is it because he's making a lot of money off this war? I mean, that's still been a lot of the conversation. Where is all the money?
Because if you make a lot of money off a war and you stay in that war, right, but you're not gaining personally, that's not going to be worth it to lose all your people, right? It's not going to be worth it. But if you're gaining personally, if you're making personal gains from what you're doing, okay, you're going to stay your position for as long as you can.
Well, that's what it feels
because you're making
like.
those personal gains.
That's what it seems like. And I think that's the rumor that's been going around for some time, that he's getting personally beyond wealthy, and Putin is too, but we already knew what he was. He's been the king of the earth for a long time. Zelensky's a newcomer. He was a little comedian that all of a sudden is a billionaire because of a war.
He's not by himself. He's got friends in the USA, doesn't he?
He sure does. A lot of
How can somebody like that just come over? It doesn't matter who's president. How can they have the audacity to come in the White House, right, and just nonchalantly, just kind of disrespect everybody?
No, that's why Trump threw him out the first time. He has to
but
deal
who
with him.
empowered him to do that? Right? That means he has friends in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it means. He has powerful friends in Washington, D.C., who are also filling their pockets off the death of others. That's what
I
it
agree
means.
with you. And that's
But let me not say too much about that.
I know.
I'll be over there in the Ukraine fighting on the front lines or something.
Yeah, let's not go too far, Mike.
That wouldn't work out.
No.
I think I'm too old for that.
Yeah, I know you might be a little past your prime. I don't think you want to go there. So, not that you couldn't handle it. Not that you couldn't handle it, but let's not go there. Well, Mike, as we keep an eye on now all the things that we've talked about here tonight, whether it be wars, whether it be rumors of wars, whether it be earthquakes, the super El Niños and all the different viruses and diseases. We have really discussed Matthew 24, haven't we? And can I ask, how much closer does that bring us to the rise of this beast? I mean, is it just over the horizon? Or what major biblical milestones do you see need to take place now?
I think two things I see happening right now. Two things all at one time. The falling away.
Yeah.
And the revealing of this man of perdition. Now, the revealing of the man of perdition is a process. It doesn't all happen in one day.
I agree, yeah.
It doesn't all happen in one day. And so right now what we see is more and more people ready to follow somebody just like the beast as described in Revelation. That's what we're starting to see. Look, I look at Trump. Trump reminds me of a commander I had earlier in my career. We had a commander nobody liked. Yeah. Nobody liked this guy. He came in, he was doing things nobody could quite understand it. People would ask him, if you don't mind, why are we doing this? And he was complicated to get along with. Well, a year later, Pastor Paul, we ended up having a brigade that was 98% combat ready when everybody else was still at 46%. We ended up breaking the record on just about everything. We had a proficiency level that nobody else could match. So what we did not understand is he wasn't trying to befriend us. He was trying to get us up to par, right? Up to a level where we could actually do what we set out to do, right? But nobody could see that because of how he did things. But he had to do things like that nobody liked.
Yeah.
Because we were so used to somebody doing things that we did like.
Yeah.
We were so used to the status quo, we couldn't recognize it.
So he was actually,
just disrupted the
so
whole
this
thing,
leader
right?
of yours was actually preparing you guys greater for battle than what before. But it didn't rub you guys right. I mean, it went against the grain for sure.
That's right. But just like the Bible says, you'll know a tree by its fruit. That means you're not going to know it by the roots. You're not going to know it by the leaves. You're not going to know it by the bark or anything else. You'll know it by the fruit. And the fruit comes last. It does not come first. So at the end of the day is when you can evaluate something and say, that's what it was. You'll never know in the middle. And that's exactly what happened with that commander and some other commanders. And then, that was a good template to go by, what they did. So, you have people right now in America, they don't like, there's some people, they didn't like Biden, they didn't like Obama, they don't like Trump, this and the other. You can only tell who these guys are by the fruit they produce. And the fruit they produce is not going to be known right now. It's going to be known
10 years
after
from
the
now.
fact.
10 years from now.
Yeah. And which is why I personally reserve. I just reserve a lot because I know that.
Yeah.
But I can also see things that he has done that no one else would dare do. Right. Yeah. He takes a lot of hits. Yes, he has a strange leadership style that nobody's used to because we're so used to Washington, D.C. individuals, right?
Yeah.
But I still say he's not the capturing moment in this whole thing. He's president, yes, but the moment is the churches. He has put a barrier around the church. Nobody is messing with the church.
No, you're right.
While everybody's celebrating Trump, I'm saying, wait a minute. Trump, he may not even know it, but Trump has set a barrier around the church that the church is free to do whatever it wants. And what is it doing?
You know, Mike.
We got to be careful in this time not to waste, just not to waste this opportunity. I don't think we're going to get another opportunity like this.
No, and that's why in the book I'm writing, Trump versus the Beast, I literally am not saying that Trump is the hero or Trump is the Messiah or anything. I say that plainly in the book. He's not. But what I say is he's assisting the church for the greatest opportunity to bring revival that the world's ever seen. The question is, will we rise to the occasion?
That's right.
And that is yet to be seen. I really believe that. I'm trying to, if anything, in this book with my co-author, Troy Anderson, we want to try to spark a desire somewhere within the human existence of the church to be willing to take this gospel to the world, one last rush for the souls of humanity. Trump is just a friend of the church because he's helping assist us get there. He may not even know it, like you said, but God is divinely using that opportunity. Just like Satan is going to divinely, and I don't want to use divine, Satan demonically is going to use an antichrist to try to destroy the world. And that's coming soon, isn't it, Mike? You said it after, your words were this: first there'll be a great falling away, and that man of sin be revealed. That is what you say are the next two things. And I think you are on the money, Mike. I truly do. I'm with you. And I hate to say it, but it's what the Bible says. So
yeah, we're here. Pastor, keep doing what you know what? You have sparked some things, right? All we have to do is keep going and never stop.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I do.
That's all we
Sometimes I think, Mike, that I'm beating my head against the wall.
Nope.
But
yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Trust me. I can't help but to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you keep doing it. Oh no, you're making a major difference in the kingdom. And
I have foot and mouth disease. I'm always putting my foot in my mouth. I do that a lot.
I put my foot in my mouth a lot, and that is a disease. I'll get along with it. Mike, thank you tonight. Thank you so much for being with us tonight again. We appreciate it greatly.
It's an honor, Pastor Paul. God bless you.
God bless. The honor's mine.